like to start off with a simple question. How do you say, I love you? 3 simple words. 3 simple words filled with power and passion and meaning. In truth, I say I love you in a number of different ways. Saying I love you could be done using the words of your culture. It could be done with simple handshakes and head nods. It could be done with smiles and joy. It can be done in so many ways. I love you can be said to parents to show how much I appreciate everything they have done and sacrificed. I say it to friends to show how important and vital they are on a day-to-day basis. I say it to my teachers and coaches who have made a difference in my life. I love you might be the most complicated phrase in human history. It can help heal, but also hurt. It can cause jealousy and aggression. It can remind one of a time where things were better, simpler, and safer. Such is the power of language. The ability to convey complicated ideas through a simple act of pushing air through your bodies and throats and around your teeth and tongues to create sounds that somehow, against all odds, we have agreed mean certain things. But before we go to that, we must first go back to the beginning. Way back. All the way back to childhood. Good afternoon, students, staff, community members, director overall, and the class of 2017. My name is Lulah Haley, and this is my senior talk. This is the language you hear in your first year of life. According to raisingchildren.net, at this age, it is important to babies because this is when learning starts for a child's young years. And learning a language is a lifelong process. This is when you're first introduced to the strange sounds coming out of other people's mouths. This is a few years later. You can already speak by now. This would be if you had to suddenly change languages. The first text you see is more permanent. The second, less so. The second is more of an outline. It can be filled in over time, and often important gaps are never permanently filled in. This is now. The older you get, the harder learning a new language becomes. Because so much of your brain has already learned a different way of speaking, it is hard to change its course. It's not impossible by any means. At least, that was the case with me. Learning a new language for me was tough. I was being stubborn and refused to tell my siblings I was struggling, because this was going to have to be something I learned on my own. That was the worst mistake I have made in all the 6 years I have lived. The language I speak is Tigrinya. It's a language native to a place in East Africa called Eritrea. Did any of you know what Tigrinya was? Did you know where Eritrea was? That is the most important thing in my community. People don't know the language, making it harder for us to learn English. In elementary school, I was always known as the quiet one, mainly because people thought I was shy. Teachers thought I was quiet because I wouldn't speak up, but the truth was, I couldn't speak up. I was just a scared 6-year-old, stuck in a place where the only program they had was for Spanish speakers. The way I learned English was I made a friend who attended an English as a second language class. She was from Mexico and could at least talk to her ESL teacher. Every lunch, she would give me the work they did in ESL and help me learn how to say all the words I knew inside my head. It was tough, but eventually the English language made sense. I began to read wonderful books about far-off places, igniting a love affair. But some kids just aren't as fortunate. It has always been a long-held passion of mine to help others in similar situations. I attend St. Mary's Christian Church every Sunday. Every week, I see new families, new immigrant families with young children, just like I used to be. While the parents listened to the sermons, the children were in a nearby room, practicing the mezmods, the songs of God. I've been attending this church since I was a kid. Growing up, all I heard was Tikrinya. It was really confusing for me. At school, I was quiet, scared, and shy. But at church, I could laugh and sing and speak up. It may seem simple, but that's what language is all about. Community and communication. I feel a debt of gratitude to my church for being the first place that allowed me to see that I'm smart and capable. As a kid, I read fairy tales in Tikrinya. I read Bible passages in Tikrinya. I even read newspapers about current events happening in Eritrea. As I look around my church and I see the kids practicing their mezmods, I don't want them to go through what I went through. I know that I can help them. I started to volunteer at my church. Every Saturday, I would get the children's room to myself. I started off with about 8 kids, 6 boys and 2 girls. I printed out worksheets for them to do and gave it to them on clipboards. The Tikrinya language is very confusing. There's 32 letters and 7 vowels for each letter. Ready for a little language lesson? Be careful, it's gonna get tricky. When you see this symbol, what do you think it is? L. Looks like an L. Same letter that starts with lion and lazy, and yeah, even love. But it's not an L. It is the Tikrinya vowel for re, used in this word. Please repeat after me. De, ho. De ho. Which means chicken. Took us 3 tries to get one word down. And to be honest, I could have gotten it wrong. The language is so complicated that even native speakers have trouble with it. The next hurdle was keeping the kids' attention and keeping them motivated. Some of the kids didn't understand how much easier their lives would be if they could keep up in their class. I talked to the parents, and they said their kids weren't properly motivated. I thought, how can I make them want to learn English? The answer was good old-fashioned bribery. I created a prize box. I knew I was gonna need help, just like that little girl helped me way back then. I was fortunate enough to get that help from Miss Hunter and Miss Cooley. Working with Miss Hunter, we determined that the kids work best with short texts about historical figures, such as Martin Luther King Jr. Miss Hunter was kind enough to donate some books to the church. Meanwhile, Miss Cooley donated a bag of toys, some old, some brand new, and helped me introduce the prize box. Every time a kid would read a book out loud to me, they would get to pick something out of the prize box, whether it be a toy or the promise of me buying them food. I know you're not supposed to bribe a kid, but hey, it worked. More and more kids wanted to come and learn English, but most importantly, more kids were improving their English speaking. We started with the basics, the ABCs. They would write down each letter, and I would help them pronounce it. The kids who were about 4 or 5 were able to pick it up easier, but the kids who are 11 or 12 had a lot of struggles. But after each and every one of them got it down, I moved on to easier sentences. But my job wasn't done yet. I took a handful of these kids to the downtown library to get their own library card. I wanted them to know that there are more opportunities out there. They just had to reach out and grab it. I planned on taking all the kids at least once before the summer starts. This affects our community greatly. With these kids going out there and learning English, doing better in their schoolwork, they don't have to feel stupid or useless anymore. I can speak from personal experience about the power of giving someone their voice back. I can personally vouch for the power of being able to vocalize the words in your head. I can speak from experience, the unspeakable power of being able to speak again. These kids understand that power, and I hope that they could pay it forward and teach others the complicated ways of English. I know there's a lot of bilingual students out in the audience who understand how much of a struggle it is to learn a tricky language such as English. Before I go, I have one last language lesson. Please repeat after me. Ye, fet, wek, e. Yefet, weki. Yefet weki. Congratulations. You just said a very powerful phrase. I love you. Thank you, and this concludes my senior talk.